is a very hot mic, I've noticed. It's good to be with you again. I want to first share some words from somebody I graduated seminary with. Their name is H.P. Rivers, and they wrote something that they call the Blanket Fort Prayer. I hear it more as an invitation. Meet me at the altar of banned books, Blanket Fort Sanctuary. We will dance to a chorus of children's laughter. Meet me in the joy, the sorrow, beneath the rainbow banner. Bring your questions, cares, concerns. Bring the glitter in your pocket and the sparkle in your smile. Bring your heavy heart, your favorite mug, your very best swear words, and set down your very bravest face. Meet me in the heartbeat between what has been and what will be. Meet me in the flicker of our eternal flame. We need not face this moment alone. I wanted to start there with y'all, and I was reflecting on this also when you were sharing joys and sorrows. We already know how to make space for all of it. We do it all the time, right? We make space for joy and sorrow. We heard about the passing of loved ones and the birth of new ones, right? We heard that, and those are both bring us our complicated feelings sometimes, but we can hold both. So I ask you today, how is it with your spirit? How is it in your heart today? I'll be honest, my spirit is in a place of tension. My heart is full. It is full with witness for the deep and abiding love that we have for each other. Absolutely. And my soul shakes with anxiety about what is to come and what is already happening. I was going to say I'll spare you a news rundown because I'm sure we've all taken in what we can, but I also need to say that yesterday ICE was raiding restaurants in Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti, and that is urgent and happening in real time, and there are things that we can do that are immediate, and it requires us to do things that we may be uncomfortable with, like refusing to talk to somebody wearing a tactical uniform. And so that one of the things I did this week, yesterday, after is I taught my kids two phrases. I don't know, and I can't help you. And I want to teach you the same. If ICE is looking for someone that you know, I don't know, I can't help you. And so that's my update on the news rundown, and I am not here to tell you advice for how to act when you're faced with the police state. Of course, I came here to talk about feelings, but I feel very strongly about this. Don't talk to cops. Ask them if you are detained. If they say no, that means you're free to go. There's no in between. Yeah. But I will suffice it to say there are many reasons to be anxious, even if we've been through this apocalypse before. Rachel Kahn's poem is from 2016. We've been here, we know. My 14-year-old son, who has been wise beyond his years since he could say words, which is a blessing and a curse, told me once that anxious means that you are confused and worried or nervous at the same time. Confused and nervous at the same time. Does that resonate with any of you about how you might be feeling right now? Confused and nervous? I mean, among other things, but those two things feel particularly live for me. Before I talk more about feelings, I also want to interject that I would actually be remiss if I didn't say to you, I'm pretty sure this is a good sermon, but a couple of thousand words from the chancel can't replace the help of a professional therapist. If you have big and complicated feelings, it doesn't hurt to spend some dedicated time with a professional who can help you sort them out. Therapy is for everyone. And the revolution will be therapized. I'm sure of it. So I just wanted to give you that caveat. So in speaking about feelings in my life, it seemed natural for most of it that when I felt anxious or uneasy or worried or any of those feelings that suck, what I ought to do is try to put those feelings out of my mind, right? Find a distraction, count my blessings, watch a funny movie, have an Irish coffee, right? Or maybe be all good vibes only about it. Because I thought ignoring those feelings was dealing with them, putting them away. Or maybe in my more high-minded moments, I thought I wasn't giving them any power. And I did that for a long time, until one day, about 15 years ago, I found myself in the Home Depot having a panic attack for no discernible reason. Somebody said to me that it was the orange, but I didn't know orange would, what foreboding the color orange would bring. And I don't tell you that for your sympathy or your empathy, though obviously thank you for your concern. I'm okay. I'm telling you that because I'm not ashamed of it, because I don't think it's weird or wrong to feel hard feelings. And if you've ever felt so anxious, you left your full cart in the middle of the aisle at a big box store so you could get in your car and freak out, well, you're not alone. The late, great poet and prophet, Audre Lorde, praise the Lord, said that our feelings are our most genuine path to knowledge. Now, that doesn't mean our feelings are facts, because truly, I felt impending doom in that Home Depot, and that feeling was very real. But there was no actual doom in Home Depot. Not that day. There was no evidence of harm coming to me. But I still felt panicked. And so after I had that panic attack, I knew some things about myself. I knew that I had some anxiety that was barely contained, that was bubbling under the surface all the time, and only needed a slight push to erupt, right? I also knew what I was going to talk about in therapy that week. Anxiety feels terrible, right? When I'm anxious, I feel it behind my sternum and in my jaw. My teeth literally feel on edge. It is a sickening feeling, one that seems to have flexing tentacles reaching out into the rest of my body, impacting my muscles and my bones. The anxiety many of us are feeling right now does have an external source based in fact, right? We know because we've been witnessing this impending doom for years. It isn't mysterious. The knowledge Audre Lorde says our feelings give us is about ourselves. It's also about our context, but really it's about ourselves. See note above about getting therapy. This is really complicated. But what we know because of our feelings is who we are. We need to know who we are if we are to resist tyranny. As a queer person, I need you to know who you are when the shit hits the fan. I need you to know that. Immigrants need us to know, whether documented or undocumented, whether born elsewhere or born here, they need us to know who we are. In his book, My Grandmother's Hands, which I highly recommend, Resma Menakem closes each chapter with what he calls body practice. He says he does these and he offers them because healing is an embodied practice, not an intellectual one. He has developed tools or built on tools that already exist for us to notice where trauma lives in our bodies and that we can find ways to heal from that by being in our bodies. His focus is on racialized trauma that we all have, but I think there's translatable stuff around all kinds of pain. Menakem says that the primary way we heal is also through our bodies. We need to experience it rather than cognitively figure it out. I propose that trauma and anxiety kind of feel the same in our bodies. Biochemically, they're pretty similar, right? About our amygdala being activated and where we store those memories. And I think there's work that we could do using Menakem's exercises so that we can metabolize our feelings. I love that idea of metabolizing our feelings. Feelings are often connected to hormones like cortisol and adrenaline and whatnot. And we literally physically metabolize those hormones in order to move through our feelings. So if we think about feelings in a similar way, metabolizing makes a lot of sense, or at least it does to me. This is about feeling our feelings, to process them rather than saying, well, I'm not letting those negative feelings have any power over me, which is called spiritual bypass, by the way. We can talk about that maybe another time. Or judging them. This is a bad feeling, it's a negative feeling, it's this feeling. So I want to do one of these exercises with you all right now. And, fair warning, isn't going to be easy for all of us. That's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. And if you don't want to, that's fine. You can just dissociate for a few minutes if that's what works. But if you'd like to try an embodied practice of healing, I'd like to lead you through one right now. So first, if you got, shake a little, try to loosen your body up a little bit. And then, stretch. And then I want you to find a spot that's comfortable, a way to sit in your chair or the floor that is kind of loose, not holding a lot of tension in your body if that's possible. I don't know. And then just sit still. You can close your eyes if you like, soften your gaze, whatever works for you. Just sit still for a minute and breathe normally. Notice your breath as it enters your nose, your windpipe, your lungs. For a few seconds, simply follow it as it goes in and out of your body. Now, bring your attention to the bottoms of your feet. Sense the ground beneath them supporting you. Stay there for a few minutes, for a few breaths, rather. Now, move your attention to your back. Feel the sensation of it pressing lightly against the chair. Feel the chair supporting you. doing what it was designed to do. Now, I invite you to think of a person or a pet or a place that makes you feel safe and secure. Imagine you are with that person or pet or in that safe place. Let yourself experience that safety and security for a few breaths. Now, check in with your body. Start with your shoulders. How do they feel? Relaxed or constricted? Closed or open? What about your neck? Your jaw? What about your major joints, ankles, knees, hips, wrists, elbows? What about your back or your toes? Stay with that experience for a couple of breaths. Notice if anything arises or changes, such as a vibration, a sensation, an image, a feeling, an impulse, or meaning. Now imagine that the comforting person or pet or place is gone. And instead, there's an angry stranger standing in front of you. The stranger's arms are crossed and they are glaring at you silently. You look into the stranger's eyes, hoping their expression will soften, but it remains unchanged. Check in with your body.
I think Caitlin might be.
Check in with your body again. How do your shoulders feel? Your neck, your jaw, your back, your toes. Gently, one by one, feel into all the places in your body where you sense constriction. Let your attention rest briefly in each one. Now, send the angry stranger away. Bring back your comforting person, place, or pet. And for several breaths, relax in the safety this presence provides. Now, gently move your attention through your body, from your head to your toes, one more time. Feel into each spot where you sense softness, and stay with each of these for a few breaths. Take a few more breaths, and without rushing, come back to this moment. If you closed your eyes, open them. Take one more deep breath and blow out like you were blowing out a candle. We just took a step toward knowing where our feelings manifest in our bodies. Paying attention to those places gives us the ability to know when we're not at baseline. And when we're not at baseline, or you're feeling reactive in some way, it can be helpful to have a few standard steps in mind. Because sometimes our instinct will be to do that ignoring thing or the finding a distraction thing. So firstly, don't immediately reach for a coping mechanism. I promise you that the feelings you're having don't mean you any harm. Evolutionarily, We experience anxiety and fear because of danger. Pay attention to that. You can survive just sitting in your feeling for a minute. So try not to judge the feeling as good or bad. Remind yourself that it just is. It's a feeling and it's there. And I know I made it just sound really easy. This takes a lot of practice. So practice often. Practice knowing and naming your feelings and seeing where they are. Then ask yourself, what triggered this feeling? And keep drilling down with that question, because sometimes the feeling is readily identifiable, right? And sometimes they're feelings that are masking other things. For example, anger. Anger can be a standalone feeling, but more often than not, it's masking something else. And that something else is a feeling that we don't feel safe to name or express. Sometimes anger is actually shame or hurt or disillusionment. And those of us who've been socialized culturally as men might especially feel this about anger, right? Like, because it's okay for a dude to feel mad and be mad, but it's definitely not okay for a dude to feel scared, right? That's a cultural norm. And I want you to know, like, that's trash. We all have all the feelings. Some of us just name them and some of us don't. So when we identify we're feeling angry, that's an opportunity to keep going with the question, right? We can do a body scan. Where are we feeling this in our bodies? Are my shoulders tense and up next to my ears? Is my stomach upset? Is my jaw tight? And we may take 2 or 3 body scans till we figure it out. The thing is, what's helpful is when the more you do body scans, the more you know, and then you don't have to do a body scan. Like, I feel this deep burning pain behind my sternum, or whatever. And it's not the bad thing that one might feel behind their sternum. That's because I'm anxious, or my teeth are getting really tight, right? You'll know what those things are after you've practiced doing body scans. And it may take you time to metabolize the feeling in the moment. Give yourself space and time to do that, because otherwise it's going to come out sideways. Nobody wants that. And also because that's active resistance, because we're kind of taught that it's frivolous to allow time to feel our feelings. But truly, that's just another lie that capitalism has told us in order to keep us working hard, right? In order to keep us productive. I used to have this idea that if I could just sort my feelings into like a filing cabinet or something, I could feel them in time or in an order that made sense and I could handle, because feelings are complicated and they all happen at once. I feel joy and sorrow at the same time. I feel anger and scared at the same time. I feel elated and curious at the same time. All of these feelings can be complicated and happening at once. I was really caught up, though, in the capitalist idea that feelings were less important than productivity, than taking care of business, whatever that means. I'm here to say, and I will say it every day if I have to, that there is no more important business than being human, than feeling our deeply human feelings, and then showing empathy without judgment or shame to ourselves and each other. I firmly believe that empathy has the power to change the world. And I also know that it can be very hard to show empathy to others if I don't show it to myself. And I know it's really hard to have empathy for Donald Trump or J.D. Vance or any of those other folks. And I honestly think had they been shown more empathy in their earlier years, we wouldn't be here right now. So remember, like, I'm not saying be empathetic to them, because I think it's, Donald Trump isn't gonna experience your empathy in any way. But if you can interrupt and give yourself some, give the people around you some, that is gonna do a lot. A lot of things right now are becoming very real that we've just seen as threats on the horizon. This road isn't a new one. We've been traveling this way for a while. But moving toward a different road only becomes possible when we stop repressing or ignoring our feelings. Capitalism and fascism rely on us avoiding feelings and avoiding showing empathy. You know, the reason that it's hard sometimes to think about refusing to talk to cops for folks is because that will make us uncomfortable. I don't want to do that. I'm not okay. I'll feel weird. I'll feel, you know what? You'll survive feeling uncomfortable in that moment. But we tend to want to ignore those feelings, so we tend to avoid doing things that make us feel that way. We must do all that we can to resist tyranny, all of it, everything we can do. And that resistance will always start right here. Right here. May it ever be so. Thank you.